We've developed a suite of optical design sensors to look at soil quality with the biggest objective to improve land potential and decrease the carbon footprint of agriculture. We're working on nutrient quantification in soil. We're working on carbon quantification in soil. We're working on kind of soil health and soil quality more broadly. And basically, it's a sensor that capture information from the soil. So it's an in situ types of sensing. We need to be in proximity with the soil, very close to it. And then basically what we capture at that point are spectrum from the soil directly. And we apply machine learning on a cloud computing engine that we've developed. It's a large database that sits in the cloud. And we shift those spectrum that we collect into nutrient concentration or soil properties. And then we push back the information into a user app or an API into the preferred platform of our partners. It's a way to digitize soil in a very effective way and in a very accurate way as well.
You use the words kind of, we're working to digitize like nutrients and carbon and that sort of thing. Give us a sense of what you're able to do today that before ChrysaLabs, the average agronomist was not able to do.
Yeah, I guess one of the good example is how the process was before us and how for our clients. So let's say a typical agronomist in the Midwest for corn farm, they would collect samples manually. They would put this in a bucket. They would mix the soil. Then they would bag that specific soil. Then they would come back to the office. They would write the specific label on that specific bag. They would send this by courier to a wet lab. Would take a few days, perhaps weeks before they can get the results. And with these results, then they would prescribe what type of fertilizer they needed to buy, what is a quantity, and where exactly they should apply this, right? With our solution, people can directly come in field, collect the points, and within seconds, they have all the data that they need to support the agronomist. That said, one of the major use cases that we're seeing is really for diagnosis. So some nutrients are more sensitive from a time perspective. So nitrogen is a real good example. We've been doing a lot of work on nitrogen sensing because it is one that tends to fluctuate over time and is one of the most crucial also for plant growth, right? So you want to know if, for example, you have nitrogen, then you have a large rain event, you're not exactly sure if you still have nitrogen in your soil, right? So it's important for you to be able to go back very quickly to understand how much nitrogen you still have in your soil to be able to reapply. So it's not only seeing us as like us via the lab, it's us also sometimes complementing what lab is able to provide in terms of diagnosis and how fast we can provide the information to just inform and react on the reality on the farm gate.
What right now in the conversations you have with customers is really getting them excited about what you're offering?
Yeah, I'd say that the most value that we're generating right now. So they're basically first, perhaps to put this in perspective, there's two types of business that we're doing at Chrysa. So there's kind of a first thing where the OG business, the original business that was there at Chrysa was more in regards to fertility management, supporting agronomists, supporting retail partners, ag input companies, farmers, to better understand the soil, to know exactly what to apply, when to apply, diagnose directly in field what was going on. And then we have another side of our business, which has been growing very fast, which is in regard more to sustainability, sculpture reduction, carbon sequestration. So in that specific market, we serve a project developer for carbon. We serve CPG company, food companies for sculpture reduction, carbon traders, different MRV companies that are in need for such data that we collect. So I'd say basically notwithstanding the type of client that we are serving, most of them come to us for the ease of use of the system and how fast they can get access to the data. It's also, they can control a little bit more the narrative. We sort of empower them in getting their data. Right now they're relying on a third party to provide the data. As of with us, they can really control the narrative and kind of bring the information when they need it at the speed that they need it to inform their clients. So there's a shift there that seems to be pretty powerful as well. But yeah, we're also trying to position this as much as possible with our clients. And this is normally when the client comes to us when, there's always something in regards to land potential and sustainability, right? So how can we maximize the profitability of a specific farm? How can we perhaps maximize the ROI of how the operation is run? How can we maximize the the amount of carbon we're sequestering in our soil. So that's kind of normally where we are seeing the biggest traction in what we're doing right now.
And I understand the appeal to real-time data when it comes to nutrient management. It's like, I got to apply this now. I need to know how much is out there right now. When it comes to the sustainability metrics, why is that so important? You kind of would think that they would just have their, as long as they get a measurement, it doesn't, they're not probably going to change anything in real time, would be my guess. But why is that important to them?
Yeah, it's a good question, Tim. And it comes from the incentive supply chain at that point. So right now, you're right? If I know today that I have this much carbon in my soil, I won't change my practice tomorrow, right? Specifically, if it's in the fall, like what can I do? But the thing is, then let's say you're in a scope 3 program where you want to reduce the carbon intensity of corn, for example, for biofuel or something. There's certain rewards that are attached to a specific practice, right? So you need to report on them to get a specific payment. So right now, the way the sampling and like the lab analysis are done, this has a lot of time within the operation and sometimes can derail a little bit the project from the way they can report and make the payment. And to make this very appealing to growers, you need to make sure that you're respecting a specific sequence in terms of timeline that makes it interesting for all the stakeholders that are involved. So I'd say time is interesting, but also from a cost perspective, there's some incentives, of course, of being able to work with a digitized platform as opposed as a brick and mortar, where the cost structure is a little bit different.